Hi there, Steve Kaufman here today to talk again about languages. And if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe and don't hesitate to give me a like. It's all good for my rating, which I guess I'm supposed to be trying to push. But today I want to talk about verb conjugations because this comes up in a number of different languages, and it's certainly something that I'm encountering in Turkish, and I want to show you how I deal with it. A couple of housekeeping things. We are a month away, or a little more than a month away, from the Long Fest in Montreal. I think it's going to be the best ever. I was talking to Tets, one of the organizers there, and to remind you to register if you haven't already done so, and you will get a discount if you use as your access code Steve. My name, Steve, can be uppercase, lowercase. It's not case sensitive. I will leave a link to the Long Fest here in the description box. Another sort of housekeeping thing, I had a podcast interview with Chris Broholm of Actual Fluency, talking about seniors learning languages and stuff. I will leave a link in the description box. Please go there if you are interested in hearing this discussion. Chris is an awfully nice guy, someone that I met for the first time, I think, in Montreal at the Long Fest a few years ago. So, conjugations. All right. So, I just finished, by the way, my fourth online discussion with the tutor. We chatted for an hour. I thought I had recorded it in Zoom. I can't find the recording anywhere on my computer. When I eventually manage to record one of these, I will show you my state after 6 weeks of Turkish. What I struggle with most is Turkish verbs, because the verbs in Turkish embody not only tense, but also probability, likelihood, negative, positive, a whole bunch of stuff gets thrown in there in a way that I'm not used to. I'm used to the way verb conjugations work in European languages, even Farsi, Greek, even Arabic was not as strange to me as the sort of Turkish way where everything gets thrown into these verbs. I'll show you how, on my computer, how this works. I also want to talk very briefly about, somebody asked to show an example of a tutor's report. So I have my session with my tutor, and then I get a report with an audio recording. I'll show a little bit of that as well on my computer. But talking about conjugations, so one of the things I do, because if you look at a conjugation table, at least I find that there's no way I'm going to remember the conjugation table. I can look at it many, many, many times. I mean, I became first aware of the fact that looking at tables doesn't do it when I was learning German, and I was trying to remember the declension tables, and I just couldn't do it. And so I just gave up and basically realized that if I focused less time on trying to memorize the declension tables, if I spend more time engaging with German, that I might start to get a feel for how these words are used. But talking about the Turkish verbs, and it's the biggest problem I'm having right now. So one of the things I do is I find different sites on the internet, and I print these things out so I can also, because anything we do, we can do them in different ways. So I do it on the computer, I do it on my iPad, I have paper, I have books, different ways of covering the same material I find is very helpful. And I have a sauna at home, and I like taking these into the sauna as opposed to my iPad. So they say Turkish verbs of condition. There are some verbs in the Turkish vocabulary that already have a conditional feeling within themselves, he tells us. And there are various kinds of conditional. Turkish future negative conditional. Turkish real past negative conditional. Turkish continuous negative conditional. Turkish habitual negative conditional. Turkish real past conditional, unreal past conditional, simple negative conditional, simple habitual conditional, future intentional conditional, conditional positive, present, anyway, it just goes on and on. I will show you just how many different forms there are of the verb. There is no way that I can possibly remember this stuff, and yet, and as I struggle in my conversation with my tutor to try to hit, out of the 25 potential forms to try to hit the right one. And of course, I don't come close. But I know that from previous experience that in time, with enough exposure, I'll get used to it. And the advantage in Turkish is that it's written in the Latin alphabet. So I have read, in 6 weeks, I've read more Turkish than I have read Arabic or Farsi because it's so difficult for me to read in a strange alphabet. So now let me show you a little bit about the conjugations and also the tutor's report on my computer, and then I'll follow up at the end. Okay, so here we are looking at my computer, and I am, we won't go there first. I was going to show you, where are we here? We are in Turkish, okay? So if I look up a verb, here, gilmeyi, doesn't really matter which one we take, we'll take this. So I look up my dictionaries, and I will look at the Verbix Verb Conjugator Dictionary. Give you a sense of the complexity. This is a good dictionary, by the way. I also like to use Cool Jugator, but they often return no results in Turkish, so I tend to stick with Verbix. And so if we start typing, I could start typing, you know, something or other and go to yapmak. Or I can look at some of the verbs that the top 10 Turkish verbs conjugated. It doesn't much matter. Let's just hit yapmak. So here we go, which means to do. And so if we spread that out here. So we have the indicative mood. We have both a continuous and a simple form. We have the past definite, past progressive, indefinite past, past progressive narrative, past perfect narrative, doubtful distant past, all different for different persons. And we have the past in the future. There's a good one. Past conditional narrative, past conditional dubitative. This is where it's past and conditional, but maybe it didn't happen, but it seems it might have happened or something. Future simple. Future dubitative, future in the past, future conditional, necessitative mood tenses, past dubitative, imperative, conditional tenses, simple tense, progressive, past aorist, present, indefinite, past, subjunctive mood tenses, simple past, reportative, and whatever. So, obviously, there is no way that anyone can learn this. Like, I could study this till I'm blue in the face, and I won't remember it. However, I am quite convinced that if I continue to go through, and this happens to be from a conversation report, this text, which I can also listen to, by the way.
6 hafta önce Türkçe öğrenmeye başladım.
Okay, so if I continue engaging with the content, I will eventually get there. Now, there was a question about, I just want to leave you with when I come across a verb, okay, seviyorum, okay, so here again, I look up that dictionary, I go to seviyorum, which in the case of Verbix, I have to type in seviyorum, and then I can very quickly review and basically identify where this one is, and every time I go to the verb, you know, it just helps. So I do the same in, say, Spanish. I go to whatever conjugating dictionary, and we have conjugating dictionaries in all the, I wouldn't say all, but most of the different, context reverso is a good one, which I used for Arabic. And so I just find that it also exists for Hebrew, Greek. I go there, you can do it for Spanish, French, and I kind of look through these tables. Don't expect to remember anything, and then get back to the text, because obviously, ultimately, it's engaging with enough content. So the trick is to initially work with the sort of mini-story type repetitive material, and then find enough interesting, meaningful content at a level you can deal with so that you engage enough with the language, and in that way you will eventually get there. Now, I just wanted to finish off with people were asking about the conversation report. So here's one that I did for Marcin, who is Polish. And so in my conversation report here at Link, I wrote out full sentences which basically embodied all of the sort of places where I thought he maybe wasn't 100% sure. He is an excellent speaker of English, so there weren't very many outright errors, but there's no harm in giving him content that will be sort of relevant because it relates to things that we were talking about. So this is, in a sense, a sort of a summary or a distilled essence of our conversation. And then in the comment section, I generally like to put something in there. The main purpose of the comments section is to encourage the learner. So I, as a tutor, I'm not that interested in having people take English with me online. But if I'm trying to promote my services as a tutor, I would say something positive here. I enjoyed the conversation. I hope that you come back again, and maybe something, if there's an overall area that the person needs to work on, I might mention it here. And then I have recorded the thing.
Monday, July 8th. Martin, you gave me hope.
Okay. So that is the report, and that report goes to the student, who can then click on it and import it as a lesson. So if I look at myself as a learner, if I look at, say, Farsi and Persian, so let's see, somewhere in here are my conversation reports. So I open my conversation reports, and what I see is, wait for them to open here, sometimes a little slower when I'm in Loom. So August 20th. So I started August 20th. So I have here of all of my conversations with essentially two tutors, Nazi and Rana. And I can go back to any one of them and review the conversation that we had. And it includes a recording in every case. I can even listen to these recordings one after another. If I basically, because we have the ability, and I tend to listen mostly on the app, I have the ability to say, listen to the audio for the whole course. So these conversation reports are a course. And if I'm listening through these, typically they're 3, 4, 5 minutes long, and I come across words that I have already forgotten, then I can go in and open it up and work through it again. So in the case of Farsi, I go back to August 20th, 2018. If I go now to Arabic, then actually I go back, so September 11th, 2018, November, so I go back here to August the 8th, 2018, November 14th, so I can go through all of these, I can listen to them. But if I look at languages that I've been at longer, like Russian, for example, and here, for whatever reason, they're organized with the most recent one first. So we'll wait for it to open here for a sec. There's a lot of them. And as I say, it's slower for some reason when I'm on Zoom. By the way, notice the 90. So August the 9th, 2017 was the last time I spoke. But if I go to the bottom here, I mean, there are a lot. These are all my conversations in Russian. I can review all. And how far back does it go? How far back does it go? 2012. 2012. My goodness, I'd forgotten 2011. Oh, wait, 2010. 2010. 2009. December 2009. November. Anyway, you get the point. So I can review all of these. I can listen to all of them where audio is provided. So I hope that gives you a sense of how this whole business with the... Now, some of these tutors were on Link, some of these tutors were on italki, and I simply copy the Google document or whatever that I get and the MP3 recording, and I import it as a lesson. But so I covered two topics today. One was, actually, we'll just, maybe I'll just go back to the iPhone view here. And now, stop that here. Yeah, so two things that I wanted to cover. Well, more than two, 3 or 4 items today. One was the issue of conjugations, which is a a big issue. This is conjugations or declensions in some languages. These tables that people try so hard to memorize and learn, I've never found that effective. It's again a matter of exposing yourself to enough content that it starts to become sort of a habit, and then you review the tables and it reminds you of something that you have experienced, and I find that in that way we gradually get better. I have no doubt that with enough time I will eventually be able to use these Turkish verbs more and more correctly, with errors, but gradually getting better and better. Also, I showed you some examples. People asked for examples of the tutor's reports. I've spoken with a tutor now 4 times in Turkish, and I'll continue doing so. I eventually want to get back to my Persian and Arabic so that I don't forget them, but I want to push a little further in my Turkish. And as I say, don't forget to sign up for Longfest if you haven't done so. Use my name, Steve, as an access code to get a discount. And if you're interested, check out the podcast with Chris Broholm. You'll find links to both of those in the description box. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.